Welcome to Black Man Lab. We are live Monday, June 21st. We are excited tonight. We have a great topic. One that's near and dear to us as the members of the Black Man Lab. The subject is being a Black father. So we have some great guests tonight that will speak on their experiences of being a Black father and all the different trials and tribulations and beautiful things that go on with being a Black father. And I'm sure my brothers that are on with me tonight, my partners and fellow board members of the Black Man Lab will have some insight as well. With me tonight, I have my brother, as always, every week, riding shotgun with me is my brother, Joe Barker. Joe, what's happening, my man?
How's everybody doing this evening, man? What a great panel we have. Really excited about the conversation tonight, man. It's for me, this topic is a daily celebration, but we'll get into all that. But thank you for being here with us, good brother. Good to see you back in the place. Always holding down your family, and I look up to you for that and all that you do, man. Keep it up, bro.
Appreciate that, Joe. Appreciate that, man. Also, my brother, Jared Grant. Jared, what's happening?
What's up, Black Man? How y'all doing? Good to see everybody today. Looking forward to a great session.
Awesome. Glad to have you here, Jared. And my brother, Frederick Parham, is in the building, y'all. Fred, we lucky. There was a time when Fred would be here every week, but he gets so busy nowadays doing the work of the community that sometimes we don't have him, man. As a matter of fact, this past weekend had a great event. I'm mad I missed. I'm down in Florida, but I'm mad I missed the big dashiki party that he and brother Eldridge Washington throw every year. So I know it was a stone cold blast, even in the bad weather. I know you all had a blast. Tell me about it, Frederick. How was it?
Hey, great to see you, Marty, man. Sending blessings to you and the family. And the other men on the call, including my brothers from another mother, Jared and Joe. Man, personally want to just extend much appreciation, Marty, because it was a monsoon out there, brother. It wasn't the first time that it rained on Juneteenth, and that didn't stop the show then, and it didn't stop the show tonight, last Saturday. So I'm excited about the topic, man. In fact, my daughters from Maryland are still here celebrating Father's Day through the rest of this week. So I'll be on and in and out because we're over here at getting ready to have some dinner together.
That's awesome, brother. That's awesome. Enjoy those moments, man. And again, man, I didn't say it early on, but happy Father's Day to all y'all brothers, man. I know,
man, thank you.
Being one that's been in the field of fatherhood, I know that it's not always easy, man, and it's not always appreciated. So I want you to know that I see you and I appreciate you and love you, man. So every week we have some traditions that we do. First and foremost, we talk about where we came from as it relates to Black Man Lab. Black Man Lab was started a little bit over 4 years ago. One of our founders, Brother Miley Davis, and also Brother Jared Grant here, founded Black Man Lab, which started as just four fathers getting together with their sons to hopefully give them a different voice than their own. Sometimes we have our sons that they'll listen to an uncle, a godfather, a close friend, but sometimes they'll tune us out as fathers. And I'm sure we've all seen that. So they came up with the great idea of giving them other voices to listen to. And it worked out really well. The young men listened and started to really enjoy being in that space. Well, that grew. It grew to a point that we were meeting live over 250 Black men in the same room together to talk about different topics every Monday, just like we do here virtually, but we did it live and in person at the Andrew Walter Young YMCA here in Atlanta. Well, I say here in Atlanta, but I'm not in Atlanta. But every week, and it grew and grew until, of course, COVID hit. And so we had to pivot and figure out a new way to do it. So that's how we got to this virtual space, which, while not the same, has afforded us the opportunity to bring other people into the space from around the country. So not just in Atlanta, but we brought people in from all over, from LA, from Chicago, New York, you name it. We've had people on the Black Man Lab sharing their wisdom. So that's where we started. One of the things that we do every week also is we make sure that we are in a space to take on this energy and this information that we are trying to provide every week. When we meet in person, we make sure that everybody is in a space, we call it a safe and sacred space, that while there's nobody that has anything that is weighing them down, and they're in a place to be able to take on information. So what we do is we get centered, and I'm going to ask brother Fred, can you get us centered today?
Absolutely, brother.
All
It is
right.
gratifying to do so. I absolutely wanted to say a word. saw some research this week to our viewers and listeners that this thing that we do, this ritual, has pretty much been stamped, man. If you study what they call mindfulness, there is some research that shows that, mindfulness, or the exercise of being aware of your breath, helps your overall brain and health functionality. And so we want even the youngest children to the oldest men and women on this call to practice mindfulness and being aware of the breath. And so real quick, we'll do it. No matter where you are, just assume a position where your posture is erect so that you can feel, the maximum opportunity to inhale. And at this time on me, take a deep breath, inhale, 3, 2, 1, and exhale slowly. 3, 2, 1. Feel your shoulders drop. Last time, 3, 2, 1. Feel your shoulders rise and exhale. 3, 2, 1. And no event, program, or ceremony should start without getting centered and focusing on breath. Back to you, Marty. Thanks for the opportunity, brothers.
Man, thanks again, brother Fred. And I've been doing that practice daily now. Been on a prayer call every morning. That's how it opens every morning. And I got to tell you, that is an essential piece of getting your day started and really allowing for the goodness of the day to sink into you. We so often we wake up and especially on a Monday, we take on a burden of the week. And when you allow yourself to get centered early, there is no burdens. You don't feel it, and so I appreciate that, brother Fred. And that's something that I picked up from you. So thank you. The other thing that we do is we make sure that those that came before us, we make sure that we bring them into the space. And what we want to do is bring my brother Jared Grant on to bring the ancestors into the space.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Marty. Our ancestors are so important to us. We've had ancestors that our ancestors were the originators of civilization, and we say ashe to them. Our ancestors were the first humans. We give great praise and thanks to them. We had ancestors that survived the Middle Passage and slavery. We say ashe to them. But we had some great ancestors, some individuals that just did some great things that we always like to recognize those individuals, like Hannibal, like Nzinga, ashe, Shaka Zulu, ashe, Martin Luther King, ashe, Marcus Garvey, ashe, Ida B. Wells, ashe, Rosa Parks, ashe. So many ancestors, so many individuals whose shoulders we stand on. But we also have ancestors in our own family lines that we also like to give reverence to and put them in our hearts and minds. So let's take about 3 seconds to just think of those ancestors from our own bloodline, those who went before us, came before us, and whose shoulders we stand on. Just 3 seconds in our hearts and minds. Now everybody raise your fist, and on 3 say ashe 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Oh. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Brother Grant. Thank you so much, man. We know that this work that we do and the work that those that are like us out there do could not have happened without those that came before us. So it's important that we make sure that their spirit is in this space and that we recognize them, because that's going to be the angels that watch over us to keep us moving forward. So thank you so much for that. Without further ado, I want to jump in and get intros of our guests here tonight and get into the conversation. So first and foremost, my man Martin, Brother Martin, can you come on and give a quick intro of yourself, who you are, and then a little bit of your history of what brings you into the space as a father?
Well, as y'all know, I'm Martin Kinsey. Everybody calls me Sway usually. I'm 22. I have a daughter. She's 5 months now. She'll be 6 months on the 7th of next month. So, I mean, I came into space of fatherhood, I mean, by a blessing, you know, by my daughter, by my little girl. So, I mean, that was about, that was in January. So, I don't know. Like, what's...
Well, so, you know, you came into, you're new at the end of the day. You're a brand new father, right? You said how many months?
5 months.
Okay. And then what's that experience been like for you at this point?
It's been like a revelation of a lot of different choices that I've had to make, and the appreciation of the new choices that I've been making in light of having another human being that I have to look out for. Changing the way that I, you know, speak, the way that I operate, and the way that I, you know, treat people. It's matured me a lot. You know, I mean, I'm sure everybody on this call can say that their child definitely changed their perspective on a lot of things. And I mean, it's definitely true for me as well. Especially as like a young guy. I mean, I'm 22 years old. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys can imagine before, you know, my daughter came into my life, you know, I was out here, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, now I'm at a position.
Wait, let me stop you.
Man, none of us can relate to that. None of us can relate. Let's move on past that.
All right, my bad. Don't let me get the knee out.
It's okay, Sway. Sway, it's okay, man. I wouldn't have expected anything else at 22. But just your terminology from the way you put that is like, yeah, 20, I'm out here. You know, we get it.
No, I ain't mean it like that, man. I ain't trying to get nobody in no trouble, man.
No, hey, man, it's good. It's all good. We understand, man. We understand. And having kids definitely changes your perspective on, you know, for lack of a better term, being out there, right? You know, so.
Let me say this, man. Let me say this, because I met Sway a little bit ago, and I've seen him in many of the different spaces with Marilyn and some things we've been working on. And it's funny because as I was getting on the call, one of my nephews and I were talking. He's about to be a father soon. He and his wife are expecting. And he was like, man, are you excited about the topic tonight? And I was like, well, see, for me, I'm excited about it every day. I'm excited about being a Black father every day. And I look at Sway and I think he is a sum total of who he's around. And he doesn't even understand how great a father he's about to be because the environment that he has put himself in and the brothers that he has surrounded himself with. So, bruh, your best is yet to come, man. Don't even worry about where you were or how you got here, because you're that dude, man, and you surrounded yourself with brothers that are going to pour into you. So it's greatness amongst you, man. Trust me.
I appreciate that.
What? You know, what's interesting, and we'll move on after this, but what's interesting is, you know, I've known Sway now for a while with, you know, Black Man Lab and everything. And Sway, I didn't know that you had a young daughter, and to find that out tells me a lot, because kind of what Joe was talking about, we see you as you moving in these spaces in a very mature way. Now, I don't know what you were like before you had your daughter. But, you know, that could probably be, you know, a piece of that falling into there for you, that natural kind of a transition into finding some extra maturity, if you will, because, you know, having a kid will make you do that. So anyway, man, look, appreciate you being here. We'll get into it a little deeper shortly. Brother Justin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm a little camera shy, so
Hey man, don't look. If this ugly mug can be on camera, anybody's can, bro. So
okay.
don't be shy. All right. So give us a little introduction of yourself. I know a bit about your story, but I want you to go ahead and share.
Yeah, my name is Justin Mosley. I'm a father of four. I have a blended family, 2 boys, 2 girls. My oldest just graduated from high school this past May. She's going to Kennesaw State.
All right.
And my youngest is 12. He's probably the one who you may be familiar with from the current situation.
Mm-hmm.
I just pride myself on being a father, most importantly because I didn't have one. So, I feel like being a father is my number one priority. That's, the purpose of my life as far as I'm concerned. And I wear that with pride. So anything and everything I can do to support my kids and make them better than me, that's what I strive for every day.
That's awesome. So share a little bit about, you spoke about your youngest. And again, I know the story, maybe the folks listening in don't know it that well, but I want you to tell that a little bit.
Yeah, my youngest is 12 years old. He was 10 at the time. Back in November 2019, there was a situation on the school bus where the bus driver basically assaulted him. He jacked him up by his clothes, adjusted his body a few times, forcefully grabbed him by the face, yelled at him in his face a few times, and, basically made him look at him while he was yelling at him. It was a very embarrassing, and terrible situation that my son had to endure. And I had to, took every ounce of restraint I had in me to handle it in an amicable fashion. And it took a lot of ups and downs, a lot of meetings, a lot of emails, a lot of failed counsel, a lot of stomping in the ground, punching in the air, sleepless nights. It was very excruciating. And I ended up having to, shell out money and, incur expense just to pursue justice for my son. And then, when you think about the fact that the school district has stood behind this individual from day one, even so much as to pay for his defense. So I'm basically paying twice. I'm paying with my tax money and I'm paying with my personal money to pursue justice. And it took all of that in a year and a half and Attorney Davis's involvement just to get this guy arrested. He still gets his day in court, and it doesn't stop there. I mean, my son actually had to get on the stand and look at this guy and tell what happened to him. So he had to relive it all over again just a few weeks ago. And so it's a very painful situation that we're working through. And I just hope, that everybody can be held fully accountable for what they've done to my family.
Mm-hmm. And it was last week, wasn't it, that the bus driver was arrested?
Yeah, we had a hearing May 10th, and then we had, the district was playing games with the evidence we subpoenaed, so we finally got the video footage, and the court had an opportunity to view it, and we did have another hearing this past Monday, and the judge issued 2 misdemeanor warrants for the driver.
Okay, great. We'll be praying for justice to be served the way it's supposed to be, and I want to personally commend you because we know, right? Somebody dealing with anything with our children, those of us that are competent and capable fathers, especially Black men in this world, we know what our normal response would be.
Right.
And you did well to maintain through all of that. And I think because of that, justice will be seen for you, and the right things will be done. So I commend you as a father for that. So great stuff, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. And last but certainly not least, one of my other fathers from Chicago, dad of one of my best buddies from back in Chicago, me and Mildly's best buddies back in Chicago, Benjamin Ramsey Sr. This man has been in my life since I was a little kid, and Mildly's life as well, from Little League on to watch us grow. And he was one of the fathers that we were fortunate to see as we grew up in a neighborhood that didn't necessarily have a whole bunch of strong fathers around, but he was one of them. So with that, Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you for that generous introduction, Mr. Monaghan. Ben Ramsey is my name. Really, I feel honored that you have asked me to, to say a few words here. It's not, I don't know about all the different things I need to expound on, but anyway, just to let you know that I have 4 kids. I have 3 sons and a daughter. I have 8 grandkids, and I have 2 great grandkids, a daughter and a boy and a girl. And during the course of my life, you know, I've found that being a father is very rewarding, but it's also very challenging. It's challenging in that you know, you have kids, and you know you're used to doing things a certain way, and you want things done a certain way. And what you find is that each kid that you have is an individual. I mean, they're just as different as night and day. Each one of them have things that you have to, you know, that you have to find out what works for each one of them. You know, one kid you can probably look at, and they will, you know, that will change and make them do something. Another one you might have to, you know, raise your voice at. Another one you might have to get a stick at, you know. So they all require different kinds of things that you have to do, and you have to be sure that when you're bringing up kids, that you make sure that one of the key things is to let them know that you really love and care about them. That's very important. And you know, I mean, I was listening to Justin talk about the issues that he's having with his son, and you know, it's really great that, you know, that when you have a father that stands up for the rights of their kids, you know, that's important. You know, your kid will look back on these times and they will really appreciate it, to know that they had a father, and more like, you know, a black father, a black man that stands up for him and show him, you know, how to do the things that you need to be done in the right way. And then the other thing I'd like to say about that is that Justin has the right guy on the case there. You know, Maoli is the right guy to be there and to provide him, because he knows how to get things done, and he's going to be looking at all the angles, and he's going to make sure that justice is served in this particular case. So other than that, I don't know what more I can say, other than I have, like 4 kids. All of them are college graduates except for one. That's my middle son, Anthony, and he only needs to go back and complete 8 hours, and he'll be a college graduate. So I'm proud of all 4 of my kids. They have great jobs. They make me proud, because of the things that they have accomplished. And even my grandkids, I have 8 grandkids, and just to see that, how each one of my kids nurture their kids, and to provide a path for them that will make them be on the right, stay on the right course. And that's important, making sure that you keep the kids on the right course, because it's easy to go astray, and like, I remember when my kids were coming up, I used to, at summertime, I would used to make them read for an hour and do math for an hour in the summertime, so they wouldn't lose those skills that they had picked up during the regular school year. And my kids used to really hate me for that, but what happened is that their friends understood that if you didn't get your stuff done when your man came home, the first thing he was going to do, he's going to call you. He didn't care whether you was in the middle of running a touchdown or shooting a jumper or throwing a curve or whatever it was. If you didn't get your work done, you had to come in and get it done. And it's interesting to note that their friends would make sure that they got stuff done, because when I came home and I would check for them, they wanted to make sure that they didn't interrupt their activities that were going on. So that was a good thing. So even though that, I think that says a lot too as well. And again, like I said, having 8 grandkids and all of them are doing really well, and I love them all, and then I got 2 great grands, a granddaughter and a grandson, and they're coming along as well too. So so I'm real happy and pleased with that at this point.
And Mr. Ramsey, I'll say this, knowing your kids very well, because they're friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they are what they are because of your involvement in their life and the way that you were involved in their life. Like, to your point, I remember that. I remember Ben and Tanya not being able to do stuff until they handled their business at home. And something else unique was that Mr. Ramsey was a single father at home with his 3 kids at the time. And that was unique in our age, at our age, that a man would be, you know, in the custodial parent for the kids. And it led to some interesting interactions because you got to see how a single father dealt with stuff at an early age. So it was great stuff, and we'll touch on some of that as well, Mr. Ramsey.
All
Joe,
right.
go ahead. Were you gonna say something, Mr. Ramsey?
No,
Okay. Joe, are you jumping in?
Sorry, man. Of course, you know, everybody decides to call tonight at Black Men Lab. As we're talking about fathers, everybody wants to blow my phone up. I apologize.
Right.
One of the questions I want to ask, and I want to start with Brother Ramsey, if I could, especially where you have, you know, young brothers such as Sway and such as Justin listening. A question that Marty has asked each week, and it's such a simple question, but it's one that is so powerful. And I've tried to do a good substitute, Marty, and ask it when he's here, not around, if you don't get to it. But what I want to ask is, could you talk about some of the myths of being a Black father? What are some of the myths? Now, when I say that, what I mean is good or bad. You know, we are constantly hit with the narrative of we the deadbeat dads, that we are the not present dads, that we you know, we have multiple baby mamas, all these different things. So those are some of the negative ones, but you know, there's positive ones, negative ones. Could you dispel what are some of the myths out there that, you know, hey, this is what you young brothers may hear about a Black father, but that's absolutely garbage because of this? Like, what would you say? Don't listen to that narrative, Brother Ramsey.
I think that one of the things that that we might look at is that, of course, I have a son that was by another woman as well, you know, and one of the issues that I had, one of the things that I had to deal with and be confronted with was that once that relationship ended, you know, how was I going to deal with my son? And you know, because, you know, a lot of times the mothers will say, well, you know, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this, you don't even have to be involved in their lives. And, you know, and that's an easy route for you to take. And one of the things I found myself doing is telling her that, you know, well, even though you and I are not, you know, together anymore, my son needs to spend time with me. And as a way that I work this out is that, you know, every other weekend I would get him and he would spend time with me. And he would spend time with his other brother and his other 2 brothers and sisters, because see, as a single child in his household, he was accustomed to doing things the way he did them. You know, he didn't have to share.
Right.
Into my environment, you know, he had to learn how to share with other people. You know, it's not like when you put your hamburger in the refrigerator and you can come back and you're gonna find that whole hamburger, you know, half of it might be gone, you know, and that's something that you just have to, that's just something that you just have to learn to deal with, because that's part of the dynamics of a family, you know. And so that's one of the things that I had to work with, you know, making sure that I was a constant force in his life, being there to not only discipline him, but also letting him know that I cared about him and that, you know, that I was going to do all the things that I needed to do. And that's one of the big myths, because as I said earlier, women, you know, sometimes they'll say, okay, well, you don't have to do that. You don't even have to come around, you know. And other thing is that, you know, Black men don't really care about their kids and they don't spend time with their kids. You know, one of the things that I kind of prided myself on, and I think that Marty can kind of confirm this, is that as you know, we had Southeast Little League, and we had a few fathers, and we had some fathers in Southeast Little League, and we all spent time not just playing games with the kids, but we spent time, teaching them certain lessons, lessons on how to become, a productive individual. You had to discipline kids certain times, and certain times, you had to cuddle them,
Right.
and so Black men do know how to love. They do know how to discipline. They do know how to provide the example that a young man needs to see and know how to follow. So we work hard on that, and and also getting up, going to work every day, seeing your father, because fathers are providers. That's really what we are. In most cases, we are providers, and you need to make sure that you set that example for your son so he can see that. And that's something that I worked hard at, because I wanted to make sure that my kids, they didn't have everything that they need and everything that they wanted, but
They had everything they needed.
They had everything that they needed. They might have told you that they were hungry and they didn't have anything to eat, but that meant that they didn't want to go downstairs in the freezer and pull something out the freezer and throw it out and eat it. That's what that meant. So those are kinds of things that that I've worked really hard to make sure that my kids never experienced, having the electricity turned off, the gas turned off, not having a place to stay. Those are all kinds of things that, that fathers work very hard to provide and give their kids examples of certain things that they shouldn't do.
Well, brother, I appreciate that so much. Now let me just go ahead and own this moment, so none of my kids watching call me out. Now I did get the power cut off one time, but what I did is I said, "Hey, we playing a game tonight, guys. We playing." They was still a little baby, so I didn't really understand. Daddy just didn't have the money to pay the light bill, so things happen. But yeah, that's real. Now, one of the things that you said that I appreciate so much is, one, how you coach. And so many times, Marty and Molly bring brothers on here that have not just raised children, but raised communities. And with all due respect to my sisters, that is just a common narrative with us brothers. I think everybody on our board of directors has coached a league or team or something outside of just their sons at some point. And you all did lead by example with that, Brother Ramsey. Another point you made is some of the narratives that are said, well, like you said, the wives, the exes, whatever it might be, might say, well, we're good. We don't need you, this and that. But you fought to stay in their lives, because we have to understand there are laws created that there are Black women that can't get government assistance if a Black man is in the house. So let's be clear, the systematic structure that is torn the Black family apart, and we don't need to buy in that narrative. So thank you so much for touching on that. I'm a divorcee myself. I have 3 sons, and like you, I tried to do everything I could to stay in my son's life. Whether it was every weekend, when they got old enough and we filled out affidavits and they came and lived with me, whatever it took. But I never was not going to be around them. And I think that's one thing I wanted the younger brothers to hear, Brother Ramsey, because as they get older and in spaces, and hopefully everybody can have a marriage that lasts 50, 60 years like my parents. And I'm so grateful for those spaces. But I need my brothers to hear what you said, that just because that don't make you less of a father, because that's your son, that's your daughter, and you stay in their lives and raise those children. So I really needed to hear you say that, and these young brothers hear you say that, man. Sway, what are your thoughts on hearing that, man?
Add something if I could.
Go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
Brother Sway, are you married?
Nah, I'm not.
Okay, so I just wanted to, this is just dovetailing off of everything that had been said. One of our brothers by the name of Dr. Gary White always talks about, he's 100% man, but 200% father.
Yep.
And, he does family therapy, and he just doesn't do it in therapy. He lives it and models all the positive behaviors so that he won't be hypocritical, of course, as a therapist. But of course, he raises 3 beautiful girls, and wants to make sure that he's a great husband and a great father. I think what I would say to you, and I probably ask you some more questions in and around it to make sure that you have all of the legality around inside of your child's life, making sure that all of those things are taken care of. Now, as Joe talked about, he's a divorcee. I'm a divorcee 2 times, you know, married in my 20s, married in my 30s, you know, and, you know, luckily the last 10 years and unluckily, I haven't been married so I have a son from my first marriage and a daughter from my second marriage, a 23-year-old, just a year older than you, my son, and a 13-year-old is my daughter. But I have joint legal and joint physical with both of them, 50-50. So that means I'm 1 week on, 1 week off. And so that means it's not just the weekend, it's all of the daily activities that you must do, pickups, ball games, you know, clubs, homework. You know, you go through all of the same things, and that you're very present. And I always take Dr. White's comment, his quote, a 100% man, 200% father, because you're a father no matter where you are, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's just not on those days that you have your child. It's also on the days that you don't. Sure that everything is going well and going right. And so I just wanted to add that, Joe. I just thought that would be, you know, there's a legal part as well that you're going to want to make sure that it's done. That, you know, and so to some of the young men who are having children, you know, make sure that you are doing the right thing around the legality, because it certainly will save you in the future, emotionally, but also economically, physically as well. So you want to make sure that you have those ducks in the row as well.
You know, one key thing that I would like to say that I think I probably missed on, and that is that I think that it's important that we teach our kids respect. And what I mean by that is that, you know, we have sons and we have daughters. And what I tried to do in my family, I tried to teach my sons that they need to have respect for women. And because they have a sister, and, you know, you don't want anybody to mistreat your sister, and you don't want anybody to mistreat you. So, and then the other side of it is I taught my daughter to have respect, and also taught her to be independent. And probably today I kind of like might be, you know, but my daughter, I have a very strong daughter. She is, and Marty can attest to that. She, you know, I taught her to be strong-willed, and she don't have to accept anything that she don't want to accept. But I did teach both of them to have, you know, males to have respect for women, and the female to have respect for men. So you have to have you have to teach them mutual respect, because you don't want your boys to be out there disrespecting, you know, women, you know, because that, you know, that's not going to work very well. And you don't want your young ladies to be disrespecting guys either. You know, you want them to have, you know, to treat them like they want to be treated. And I think that that's an important concept that we need to let, you know, young men and young women know as well.
I have a little bit of input, if it's okay.
Sure, jump in, Justin. I was just about to bring you in anyway.
Oh, did you have a question for me before?
No, go ahead.
I just want to give a little bit of perspective. I heard somebody say the young guys, and he referenced me. I am a little younger, but I'm well versed when it comes to being a parent. I have a plethora of parental situations. Like I said, I have a blended family. I too was a single parent with 2 boys prior to my marriage, so I've experienced that. I also have a stepdaughter, and I also have a child who didn't live in the home with me. So any situation you can imagine when it comes to parenting, I pretty much went through it. I I do have custody of my 2 boys, and it was a very tough situation. So my advice to anyone young or anyone not in a marriage or anyone having any issues with their child is just to own that relationship, right? That doesn't mean it's a dictatorship. That doesn't mean you call the shots. That just means you take full control of your relationship with your child. Don't let the courts or don't let any other party dictate that, because you're going to be the one that has to deal with the outcome. So when I say own that relationship, that means, do whatever it takes to make it what you want to be. Don't let anyone deny you anything. If you have to go through the courts, if you have to have a cordial sit down with the other parent, whatever it takes, you need to make it your priority to own that relationship with your child so you don't regret it in the end. I don't know how to say it, any simpler than that, but just, if there's been times in my life where I didn't fully own the relationship, and then once I started to appreciate myself as a man, as a father, and know my value, and I did take ownership of it, I saw the relationship with my children improve and take on a whole nother level, to the point where, manipulation tactics or, anything that was thrown at me did not affect my relationship with my come to full fruition with the situation that I'm going through now, because my children just have full trust in my decision making, and they're confident that I'm going to handle it the proper way. And the mother of my children has a lot more respect for me, because I'm not sitting on the sidelines allowing whatever to be done or taking whatever's given to me. I force the issue to have that relationship with my children on every level, and that's appreciated from everybody involved. So to my young fella here, we don't want to manifest any issues, but definitely take ownership. Make sure you're in that child life. You have to take care of your child regardless, whether you're with the other party or not. So that's a given. Like anything you do outside of that is separate from that. So focus on yourself, do what makes you happy, and do what makes you feel like the best parent you can be. If it's being in a unified home, I definitely applaud that, and definitely what you should aim for. But if it's not, that does not, give you, not that you're doing that, it doesn't give you a green light to back up. You know what I mean? The relationship with your child is completely isolated, completely separate, and you should give it 200% regardless of what's going on outside of that.
Definitely.
And, just in my experience, man, it's paid off tremendously. And, I've got a relationship with my children that I never could have even fathomed. So I would encourage you to just, do everything you need to for your child, bro.
Let me say this right quick, Marty, before we move on. I just want to thank Justin for his words. Justin, definitely you're a young man, but you're a wise man. So of course we got that respect for you, brother. In addition to Sway, though, we got other brothers listening. And so it is so critical what you've offered, man, and what you and Brother Ramsey have said, because I'm not here to advocate. You said it perfectly. I don't even need to really sum up. You said it perfectly. I'm not here advocating for divorce or unified man. None of that. What I'm saying is what Brother Grant said. When I started having children, I realized I'm 100% a husband. I'm 200% a father. Dane asked to come in this world. I chose my wife. My sons didn't ask to come in. I brought them in here. So I am obligated that they are a priority in my life, period. So I appreciate what you said, Justin, and Brother Ramsey and Jared, the framework that Dr. White has given it, man. I've never heard it quite put like that, but I mess with that, man. Appreciate how real y'all have kept that. And again, I'm not here discouraging brothers that insist to have those wonderful marriages. It's not what we're doing. That's not what Black Man Lab is about. What we are actually about is creating a safe space for our fathers and recognizing those fathers that may be doing it in what society has said is unconventional ways, but are still doing amazing jobs at it. They're still doing great jobs at it. And we want to recognize that, because that's what we celebrate. It's not one way to celebrate being a great Black father. We, just like so many other diverse ways that we know how to do it in a lot of different great ways. So Justin, man, well said. I appreciate that.
I think, one of the things, Joe, that we do face as a challenge as Black men and as Black fathers is kind of how, unfortunately, society has shaped the image of what a Black man is, or a Black father, for that fact. How they've kind of shaped that, how it's kind of put us in a position that a lot of times we're not in the picture, right? You can see stuff like in a professional sports game, the running back has an amazing game. He gets interviewed after the game, and tell us about your mother and how she raised you and blah blah blah. But that guy has a father, you know, and they may be divorced or they may be together, but that always, and I'm really cognizant of this, that always winds up not being in the picture. And that there's other ways that shows as well. Unfortunately, what happens, I think, as well, is that our communities start buying into that mindset as well. You know, I was fortunate. I think all of us, to a degree, have been fortunate that we've had some great fathers to look at as role models. I was fortunate, again, Mr. Ramsey. You know, I saw he comported himself as a father, my own father. So that gave me an idea of what to do. But that wasn't talked about often, right? We don't talk about the greatness of the Black man in general, let alone as a father. So that becomes a challenge within our own community because it gets into the mindset of our own folks, right? To think that it's okay to not be involved. So what you guys are talking about, what Justin has been talking about, and as we talked to Sway, being involved is first and foremost, because that has nothing, you as a parent has nothing to do with what you are as a partner, you know, or what you were as a partner, whether you're divorced or you had, you know, you weren't never married and a young lady had a baby by you. Regardless, that's your child. And then no matter what, you should be, you know, taking care of that child in the best way that you possibly can. And not only because it's the right thing to do, but because at the end of the day, and we all know this as fathers, at the end of the day, whatever happens with that child in terms of their levels of success, and I know Mr. Ramsey, you going down and having great grandchildren now, what you see as their levels of success is it. That's what makes you that, you know, there ain't no car that you can buy, no house that you can buy, nothing. But seeing your children have success and them being good people is the win of your life, you know. So and I'll tell you that, Martin, you got a brand new child, man. You'll watch that those first years go by like that, man. Those first years go by like that. And then next thing you know, they're in grammar school, high school, and gone. And all you can do is pray that you did everything that you possibly could do to instill all the right things in them. So that's the win for us. So anyway, I want to keep going with the conversation and want to talk about what you have seen. And I'm going to start with you, Sway. What you have seen as your biggest challenge so far in being a father.
Oh, that's a deep one right there, boy.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna be honest. I think the biggest challenge, especially right now, because me and my child's mother aren't together, was really just working through the relationship between me and her mother and making sure that it doesn't get in the way of me having a relationship with my daughter. Basically, exactly what you guys were just saying. And if I was silent during that time, it was because I had to sit back and listen, so that I can receive everything. But yeah, that was definitely one of like the biggest dilemmas. Just trying to find a way to be amicable about it, because I've seen situations, you know, where it goes the other way, and it's like a feud that just, it can be ongoing. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that to fester and to start up. So I tried to, you know, nip it in the bud early and just make sure that she understood that it's, you know, it's no love lost or anything like that, because we're separated, but we still have a child that we have together that we share. Biggest thing is, you know, figuring out, you know, visitation and figuring out, you know, just everything. I mean, you know, you run into a lot of different dilemmas and situations and all type of things, man. But that was, and it's getting better. I can honestly say it's been a lot better. And I think it's because I'm working through a lot of the legal aspects of it. I'm not completely through it, but I've already taken a lot of steps to work through the legal aspects. So now that she sees that, you know, and now that that's something that's on the forefront of her mind, because I'm coming at it aggressively, like Justin said, was it gives her a different level of like, okay, he's serious, you know, because she did come to me with the same type of ultimatum, like, oh, well, you don't have to be you don't have to be around, you know, you can go and live your life and do your thing, because I know you're young. She's older than me. So she's like, I know you're young, you know, and just a whole bunch of things. I'm just like, man, that's not me though. You know what I'm saying? It's like, at the end of the day, I wanted a baby girl. So now that I have, it's no way. I mean, I don't care if it was a girl or a boy, like, it's no way that I wasn't going to be around to help my child mold into the great person that I know that she will be.
So let me say this right quick, Sway, because I love how you just unpack that. You know, we have, again, I'll always give credit to those that have been married for, you know, decades and together. And any couple that's been married, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years will tell you it's work, it's work, it's work. Well, a lot of that work is raising children. And so what I want to say, man, is the narrative of, well, man, it's not worth it because me and mama aren't together. It's all work. Parenting is work. So what you're navigating through now, I just want to give you some personal reassurances that bruh, just if you were married, it may not necessarily be any easier. Just to be totally transparent. You know, it may be a different struggle. It may be a different context of a argument or what have you. It may not be as much court, but it may be finessing something else. But what you're trying to do is be a good parent. And that's always, I truly believe that there will always be forces that want to work against we as Black men specifically to be good fathers. And I am not saying that them forces are Black women. I'm saying those are forces, period, that will work against us. And you're always going to have that fight and that struggle, and just keep being tenacious. Because how you explained it, basically what I heard you say is, it doesn't matter. Like, I want all the smoke. Like, this is what I wanted. And so whatever I had to do to be in space to raise this little girl, that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's the mentality that you have to have as a parent, period.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think just to add a little bit to that, Joe, back when I got divorced the first time, the mother of my 3 kids, it was tough for me because all I could think about was my mom and dad are going on their 60th wedding anniversary in August. So that's all I could think about that I was going to be, and so when that didn't happen, it screwed me up pretty bad that I didn't know what to do. And in the middle of that, I was fortunate that I had some counseling, and the counselor said, your marriage may be over, but you also may be a better father now because you were in an unhappy relationship. And there's a lot of trickle down effect of that unhappiness going down to your children. And so, at the time, I fought against that thought process, but eventually, as with most stuff that's negative in our lives, we need to learn to let it go. And I did. And it's still a work in progress of being, the best father that I can be. But I think that actually helped me, and I've seen that help other people as well, in terms of them being better parents once they've made that decision that, okay, this relationship is over, but I'm not going to let up on being a parent to my children. And you actually probably go overboard with it. And Sway, you're probably in that space now, man, where you start to think that way, right? Where it's like, it almost becomes a challenge, right? Where you're like, I'm not going to, tell me what I'm not going to be. So
right.
I completely appreciate that. What about you, Mr. Ramsey? Now, I know that you've had a ton of experiences as it relates to, being a father and, of course, relationships as well.
Well, there's a couple of things out, I could say, like I understand that Sway, that you say that you're proceeding legally in dealing with this young lady right now. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, all right. Sometimes I think that again, it depends on the person, and I was lucky that I didn't have to proceed in a legal way. I just was able to work things out, because sometimes I find that when you go to somebody and you ask them what they want, they're gonna tell you a lot less than what you think that you were going to give them in the first place. I mean, honestly, that's what I have found. You might set a figure in your mind that you want to, how much you want to, provide on a monthly basis for your kid, and if you keep that in your mind and you ask them what they want, it'll probably be less, in most cases, because you're going to put things out there because you want the best for your kids. But again, it depends on the person that you're dealing with. And you have to know that. You have to have an idea of what you're dealing with. Some people, you can do that and get away with it and not have to do the legal thing. Because see, when you bring the lawyers in there, in the long run, everybody loses in that case. The only person that's really getting over on that case in a situation like that is the lawyers and the legal system. And sometimes people don't see that. They think, forcing you to get a lawyer, they think that they're going to get more out of it. They end up really getting less, in the long run. So, but, whatever works for you, that's what you have to do, So, I'm glad you're seeing that that you're weighing both sides, and you've decided, on a track that you're going to take, and you have to. But once you decide that, you need to stick with that, because if you decide to, deter a little bit, that might show a little weakness, and sometimes people, shark looks for weaknesses, sometimes, and you have to be careful about that, So
yeah, definitely. I haven't actually gone into the courts, to the actual court system yet. I've just gone and gotten my my legal rights to her, and those type of things. So I'm definitely looking more towards staying out of the court system, because I know that can open up a whole nother beast. So I'm trying to get it done, as tactical as possible.
Yeah, and like I say, ask what they want. Ask them what they want. You might find that it's a lot less than what you think that you would give. And approach it that way. And then sometimes, because people begin to see things, because like I can recall times when it was like I give you, for example, my son, for example. He was married to one person, and he had a daughter by somebody else, and she was threatening to take him to court. And what he ended up saying was, hey, look, you take me to court if you want to, but you're only going to get this much if you take me to court. She said, but look at what I'm doing for you on the side here. I'm taking care of my kid. I'm also taking care of your kid too on time. When I come and pick up my daughter, I'm picking up her sister too. So if you want to give up all of these other extras that the court's not going to give you, you can go do that. And sometimes when you put stuff out there, when people can see that, they kind of evaluate, they think they'll start looking and thinking things through, so I'm just saying,
Well, I could make a whole bunch of funny comments, but I'm not going to do it right now. Because my experience has been a little different. But Sway, you're doing the right thing, man. You start out right now with trying to work the amicable route. But things can change. Just know that things can change. So at the end of the day, I think what you show as a father will force the hand regardless. So if you show yourself as being a responsible, upstanding father that I know that you are, it's going to be hard for anybody to fight against that. Now, from a legal standpoint, when it comes to money and all that stuff, that can change too. But right now you got to work through it. So, brother Justin, I want to bring you back in, man. you have a unique background, as you were talking about before. But I want you just to talk about what have you seen as one of your, maybe early on in your fatherhood, what did you see as one of your biggest challenges?
It's actually been like a progressive challenge. I'll say the overall issue from beginning to end is just, I know there's no book, but just no blueprint, having no point of reference. So just trying to figure it all out. But early on, it was definitely financial. I had my first one at 20. And then I went through a lot of alienation issues, some severe alienation issues. And then I went through some issues where there was severe health issues. So all of that culminated into me having, custody of my two boys and having my daughter outside of the home. And then I got married 4 years ago, and my wife has a daughter. So I also have a stepdaughter. So again, the first one would probably be fiscal. The second one would be alienation. And then the third one would probably be just coalescing all of the different units together. My family, my children, my wife, her child, my stepdaughter, and just trying to make it all work together. So it's definitely been a challenge, but we're working through it.
First and foremost, clearly you're built for it, brother, because that's a lot, and we all experience these kinds of unique challenges. Really, in our community is really what it boils down to. That happens, but talk a little bit about, when you say, you mentioned alienation, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the granular details because I know this is a public forum, and some of my stuff is in a sealed case, but it was like extreme, like hundreds of days at a time. You could probably do a podcast just on that one situation if you really want me to dig into it, which I could without giving up any revealing information. But I've been interrogated. I've had to turn myself. Bear in mind, I have custody. I've been exonerated of everything, but I've been interrogated. I've had to turn myself in. I've had TPOs taken out on me. I've had to turn over, any weapons or firearms that I had. I've had to. There was a joke I used to say that my kid is probably the most expensive kid in Cobb County history, because you're talking about well into 5-figure custody battle for a regular individual. Like, I'm nobody special. I go to work every day. So it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle, so severe that I ended up having primary custody. It's just nerve-wracking just thinking about it all again, and it still goes on. I actually still have to go to litigation from time to time, dealing with that situation, whether it's a request for a change in custody or whether there's some erratic behavior that calls for a contempt filing. It's just a never-ending story, right? So now the dilemma is protecting my family, protecting my children and my wife and everybody from being exposed to all of that. So, and then you've got time, right? My children are dispersed, so I have to make sure they spend time with their mother. I have to make sure they spend time with me, make sure we spend time together with my, nuclear family in the home. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot, man. But like you said, I'm built for it. And, even though I didn't have a father, I feel like he set the best example for me, because everything I yearned for and missed, like you said, I go overboard making sure my kids have it. So
that's beautiful, man. That part of it, man, is that so often in our communities, right, we have those that are fortunate, like myself, that I had a father, and have a father, a great father. I had the likes of Mr. Ramsey, Miley's dad, Mr. Mills. I had a bunch of good fathers to look up to, but there's plenty of folks that didn't. And one of two things: either somebody like yourself can serve that, where you serve as a father mentor, or it's what you're not going to do because of what you didn't have, right? So somebody who didn't have a father per se, or maybe they did have a father that wasn't present, that didn't do the right things as a father. So you say, I'm going in the opposite direction. And we see that so often as well, kind of speaking to where you're at. And I got to say, man, that folks like yourself that wind up going that route and going above and beyond as a father, that's so admirable, man. And that's so much that we need to really as a community, really look up to people like yourselves more than what we do. We really, as a community, need to be looking at, Black men as fathers even more, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, the destruction of our communities has been because the Black father has not been in it, and that's by design. So we have to work.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Black father has been strategically removed.
Right. So those of us that have been in it, trying to do the right thing. We don't know, as somebody said earlier, there's no playbook for it. There's no textbook for fatherhood. We're all trying to do the best that we can as we move forward in being fathers, and all these different challenges that come to us as Black men. It's just different. It's different than what the others experience. Right? We have to be concerned when we're in the car, when we're driving as parents. We have to be concerned with our jobs. Sometimes we have to bite our tongue, right? In our place of employment, because what the images can be, and how quick we can lose those jobs, and then that affects our families in different ways. So other communities don't see that. They don't experience that. So we have to be very conscious about it, and we have to be very almost infectious with it, for lack of a better word, meaning we need to be infecting other Black men in our communities to make sure that they want to be where you guys are at, right? Ultimately, to be where Mr. Ramsey's at. I didn't realize, I knew that you had, your grandchildren had children, but I didn't realize that you are a great grandfather now, Mr. Ramsey. You a young great grandfather, so that's beautiful, man. That's where we all want to be.
Well, I'm 74. I don't know whether that's young or not, but
that's young, man. That's young. That's young for being a great grandfather.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah.
So that means those two great grandkids. That makes Anthony the grandfather.
Yeah. Now, that's his second youngest son, who's like my little brother. So that's really funny. And and Ant is a great dad. He's a great. So, fellas, we are up against the clock. We end sharply at 7:45. One of the things that we do every week is that we always want to know what your habits, rituals, and disciplines are that you do every day that keeps you moving forward, right? And we know that everybody has some habit, ritual, or discipline that you do every day that just kind of to jumpstart your day. Like I just talked about how now, every morning I'm doing my deep breathing, and it changes kind of the paradigm of my thought for the day. So I'm going to ask you guys, what are your habits, rituals, and disciplines that you do every day to keep you moving forward? Martin, I'll ask you first, brother.
Well, I've picked up some new ones within these last probably like 3 months, just because I feel like I've been having a lot going on. So one of them is like first thing in the morning, I don't check my cell phone. Like as soon as I wake up, I don't look at my phone. I just try to take like a 5-minute time to just be without technology and just to think myself all the way through my day. So I kind of walk myself through my day. And then I start picking up my phone, and then, I start my day and I go through my, my daily routine. But that's my biggest one. So I guess that meditation through the day kind of sets me, or the meditation early in the morning sets me up for the rest of my day to kind of keep my thoughts cool, calm, and collected all the way throughout. So
I like that. And I had said some time ago that I was going to stop doing that every morning. Our natural thing is
to grab that phone.
I
realized once I realized I was doing it, I had to be intentional about like not grabbing it.
Got to work on that. I like that, Sway. I'm gonna start that one myself. Brother Justin, how about you? Yeah, your habits, rituals, and disciplines that you do on a daily basis, brother.
This is like a revolving door. I hadn't settled on anything, but right now, I have a lot going on. I'm always moving. I'm a real anxious person, so I don't have much patience. So I have to put mechanisms in place to kind of force myself to teach myself patience. So right now, I got like a little garden in my back porch, And I go out every morning and, you know, prune it, water it, stare at the plants for 5-10 minutes. Then I go out front and water my flowers out front. And then I, you know, walk around the neighborhood a few times. Just something that doesn't matter, doesn't require a whole lot of attention, a lot of effort, just something relaxing that, you know, I have to force myself to wait on the, you know, the vegetables to develop or the flowers to bloom and things like that. So just thinking about that over the course of the day and looking forward to it every day, just giving me a little bit of peace that I haven't really been able to find anywhere else. So
I like that a lot, man. I used to have, I don't have a garden now. I used to have one. And there's nothing like you wake up, you know, you go out in your garden and you see a blossom on a tomato plant, you know, or your peppers, you see that start. It's something to it that, you know, one, it's relaxing, but then two, is a sense of satisfaction with it as well. And then I cook a lot, so it'd be great to have my vegetables ready to go in a heartbeat. You know, that's good stuff, man. Another one I might steal from you, go back to it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I might do one of those things off of the balcony. You can, you know.
Yeah, that's what I got. I started off with just a small one on the balconies just to get started, and I'll probably move it to the yard next year. But yeah, it's just a small, you know, 4x4 box with some dirt in it, man.
Nice. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna call it my Justin box. All right.
Mhm.
Mr. Ramsey, habit, rituals, and disciplines.
Well, usually my day starts by being in the presence of the Lord every day. You know, I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is do my daily devotional. And that's the way I start off my day. Try to get myself in the right frame of mind and dealing with things and realizing that regardless of what happens during the course of the day, there's nothing I can do to change those things. I just have to deal with things the way they come. And stop stressing out over a lot of stuff because it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. So getting in the presence of the Lord kind of helps me in that direction. So that's usually what I do the first thing every morning.
I like that as well. You know, and again, I'm with you on that. I know the brothers on this call are that same way, where we work on making sure that we're in the space of the Creator every day.
Most definitely.
And I think that, you know, when you're in a space to release and know that you are not in control of everything, and you show gratefulness for that, then that's a great way to start your day. That goes for me hand in hand with the deep breathing every morning. So I appreciate that one. Well, brothers, we are at 7:45. Every week we end the exact same way. We're in the same space at the Andrew and Walter Young YMCA. We have a tradition that we do that was brought on by Queen Mother Njeri Algani organization in Cobra. And she would end every meeting with doing a ritual called a link in this chain. And so we've taken that on as well at Black Man Lab. And what we will do every week when we're meeting in person, and here we'll do it virtually, is we link arms. So I'm going to ask everybody to hold your arms up like this, like you're linking arms, and just repeat after me. I am a link in this chain.
I'm a link in this chain.
And it won't break here.
And it
And it won't break here.
I'm a link in this chain.
I'm a link in this chain.
And it won't break here.
And it
And
won't
it won't break here.
We are links in this chain.
We
We are links in this chain.
And we won't break here.
and we
And we won't break here.
Ashe.
I say, brothers.
Brothers,
Hey, brothers, thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all,
thank
man.
you. Thank you so much for sharing and sharing some deep details of your life. We
Yes.
appreciate that, because maybe that will talk to somebody else out there that's going
Yes.
through some of the same stuff that you guys are seeing or have experienced, and will help them to move forward. So
Thank you for your perspectives and your points of view. It was important that it was diverse like this, fellas. I really, really appreciate that, gentlemen, so much. Mark Lawson, appreciate you as always, super producer.
Okay. And thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It was enlightening for me to listen to some issues that other folks are having as well. So because we all have them.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Thanks again, Mr. Ramsey.
Yeah,
right.
I appreciate
Justin.
you guys. Yeah.
Sway, we see y'all, man. We see
All right.
y'all.
See y'all
Appreciate
next
you,
week,
man.
brother.
Love y'all, man.